Hey, this is Joel Oney at the J Money Studio in the heart of the Buckeye State. And I want to personally welcome you to today's episode of the Steel Kings podcast with my good friends Jared Ledford and Eric Olson, better known to you as the Steel Kings. Be sure to check out jmoneyllc.com for financing solutions for your buildings. And now, let's get back to the Steel Kings podcast.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Jared with the Steel Kings podcast coming at you with another episode. I am going solo today, but I'm going to bring in a special guest here in a couple of minutes. Eric is out on a job site, so he is out working this week, but I am here with you. We are going to be interviewing a special guest today, a really good friend of mine. We have known each other 10, 15 years at this point. We've done some business together. We've had some fun times together. We are going to get into it here. We are going to be talking to Daniel Mullins. He is a host and a special guest for us today. He is with WWII Radio in Xenia, Ohio. They are Real Roots Radio. And I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Daniel to the Steel Kings podcast here today. Daniel, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the Steel Kings podcast, Jared.
Yeah, man. I've really been looking forward to this. We, as I said here just a couple seconds ago, we have been friends for a long time. We have had some good times. We've run around together. We've grown up together, really. And we both watched each other go in directions, you on the radio, me here with steel buildings and wood sheds and other avenues over the years, but certainly finding my groove here in the wood shed and steel building industry. Tell us a little bit about you, man. Tell us where you come from. Tell us a little bit about Real Roots. Tell us about Daniel. How's that?
Oh man, that's a big question.
Sure.
I'm Daniel Mullins. I work here at Real Roots Radio. I'm actually a third generation radio broadcaster. My grandpa, Paul Moon Mullins, was a beloved on-air personality for 45 years. He's also a great bluegrass fiddle player as well. And he's actually was posthumously inducted into the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame just a couple years ago for his work, both on the fiddle, but especially his legendary bluegrass broadcasting career. He didn't just play bluegrass music, but made a huge impact in that genre. My dad, Joe Mullins, is a banjo player and a broadcaster as well on radio. So I kind of followed in their footsteps, been on the radio. Gosh, I think this makes 15 years, which is kind of hard to believe. So, I am from a small town called Cedarville, Ohio. It's kind of between, it's not far from Dayton. I know we have Dayton Barns and all steel buildings. It's in the Dayton area. It's in the Miami Valley. It's in southwestern Ohio, kind of between Cincinnati and Columbus, I guess you could say. My father bought his first radio station in the mid 90s after he and my grandpa had a successful touring bluegrass band for many years. Around 95, he bought WBZI in Xenia, and the Lord's blessed him over the last 30 years. Hard to believe this is the 30th anniversary of him taking over that endeavor. But it has grown into a network of 3 AM signals, 3 FM signals, and a popular app and online stream as well. Collectively, our radio network of WBZI, WKFI, WEDI is known as Real Roots Radio. So you can check out realrootsradio.com and download the free Real Roots Radio app. You can take us on the go on your smartphone or tablet. You can even ask your smart speakers now to play Real Roots Radio, which is pretty wild. So I've been on the air for about 15 years. My first program was on Sunday nights, 10 p to midnight, just that bustling time when everyone is tuned in, 10 p to midnight on Sunday. So I was on at that time for a reason, but it's been a great time. Now I'm on in the AM now. I'm on 10 a to noon every weekday playing music, and then host a fun call-in show as well after that. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, and radio is a unique market. Unique medium. It's really personal, really intimate. But as Eddie Stubbs would say, the legendary radio broadcaster on WSM out of Nashville for many years and operating announcer for many years before he retired, he told me when I was in college, he said, son, being a country music disc jockey is kind of like being a typewriter repairman. There's a demand, but not like there used to be. So it's been exciting to kind of see how we have evolved over the last several years to break into new markets and new mediums and try new things and see them grow with what we do in radio.
Well, I think that brings up a good topic here. So if you're listening to this podcast, you're obviously in the shed business, the steel building industry. You are wondering, why am I interviewing Daniel? And I think really what I'm bringing to the table today is an example of what we do at Dayton Barns. So for those of you listening for the first time, I'm one of the owners. Eric's the other owner and operator of Dayton Barns and All Steel Buildings. We do this podcast, and I want to give a quick shout out to our headline sponsor, the team over at J Money. They will give you all the financing help that you can use in the home improvement space. They will help you out with your sheds, your metal buildings, whatever you need. Contact the team at J Money. They are happy to help you. Joel, Katie, the whole team, we really appreciate them being the studio sponsor for the Steel Kings podcast. I can tell you from my point of view, networking your business to the next level requires effort, right, Daniel? And I think that's where Daniel comes into play with Dayton Barns and All Steel Buildings, comes into play with Steel Kings, is that we utilize advertising services with WBZI, WKFI, and WEDI. And we've done that now for, I'd say, a little over a year. I mean, so one of the things that we do locally here, so we're in Urbana. We're probably about 35 minutes north of where Daniel is in Cedarville, and then another maybe 10, 15 minutes north of Xenia, where the radio station is. And then another 25 minutes south, we go to Wilmington, where we work together. Daniel puts on a great show. The team over there at Real Roots, they do the Industrial Strength Bluegrass Festival in November every year, and that is a big time. We like to go there and have a good time. Last year, we took, 5-6 sheds. We had them parked all over the place. They gave us plenty of room, gave us plenty of opportunity to advertise our business. And I can tell you, if you're sitting there, and again, call to action, right? I give you guys a call to action every week. If you're sitting in a small market and you're wondering where your customers are, maybe a good time to check with your local radio station. There are still a lot of really good local curated radio stations out there, Real Roots Radio being probably our best local radio station to really target our, Daniel brought me a nice media packet. Even the smallest of radio stations have a media packet. They can walk you through exactly who, what, where, why, all the how behind who's listening to the product. And then those customers of theirs who listen to their content then become customers of yours. And I can tell you firsthand, as an advocate for small market radio, and really I'm cutting them short. They have an online platform that gets out to thousands of listeners across the United States. They have a following that is much bigger than I'm giving them credit for. And that's why I'm bringing them to the podcast today, because not only do I want to give them a platform to maybe talk to you guys, maybe give you an opportunity to advertise, but also just call to action to say, contact your local radio station. They're still out there. And there are a lot of people who still listen to terrestrial radio, AM, FM, and get all of their drive time listening to somebody like Daniel. What do you see, Daniel?
And you're so right, too, because radio, it's such an intimate form of media consumption where the host or the on-air personality, like myself, my dad, or any of our great team here, they're speaking directly to that listener. That's pretty unique. Radio is still, I know that, of course, smartphones are great. Streaming's great. I mean, I love my Apple Music. Don't get me wrong. And I listen to tons of podcasts. But the most likely medium that someone is going to listen to in their car is radio. Like, period. It's still number one for what they're going to flip on when they're in their car is radio. Also, I'll have to get the exact stat. The average person still spends thousands of hours a year listening to the radio specifically. It's still a great endeavor a great space to inhabit if you're looking to connect with customers and connect with clients. And one thing that we do that is different than your larger kind of clear channel radio networks like an iHeartRadio or something like that, where, Ryan Seacrest is heard in 50 states, which is great. Good for him. One thing that's unique that we do is, because you mentioned check with that local radio network, they're going to be plugged in with the community. They're going to be able to speak to your customers directly in your area and in your backyard. And their backyard probably needs a shed or a steel building. So, being able to have someone that can speak to them directly makes a huge difference. And steel buildings, it's a niche market. Radio is a niche market as well. So finding where those can intersect can make a huge difference.
I can tell you, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast over the last few episodes about building relationships and maintaining those relationships. Daniel and I met probably through your dad.
Yeah.
Gosh, I would say it's at least 15 years ago. I think you had just started on the radio, something like that. And, at the time I was really getting back into bluegrass. My family was really into bluegrass music growing up, and I had left the genre for a while, but Daniel and I connected as kids, really. I mean, we were youth at that point.
Yep.
And really just getting into our grooves. Daly and Vincent, Doyle Lawson and Quicksilver, a lot of the bands that I grew up on and still follow to this day. Daniel helped me make connections at a young age. They, obviously had him at the festival and stuff like that. And we've built this relationship now where in tandem, our business interests now intersect and have created this really good relationship. And I think that, for those of you that are listening that are thinking, well, radio, it's kind of old school. I can tell you, Daniel came to our grand opening event at our Brookville lot last year, and we brought in, I don't know, 25, 30 new customers, some of which were actually listening to the broadcast live and went out of their way to stop just to say hi. And I think
for folks that don't know where their Brookville location is, that's the destination, right?
That's right.
It's hardly in a bustling metropolis here where people, it's not next to a Chipotle or anything. So
that's right. That's right.
They went out of their way to go there, and we
got a gas station. We got a gas station across the street. So we sit at a major intersection, and really, let me give you this shout out from a customer standpoint to Daniel. What I love about small market radio is that when they plug us, there's some canned stuff in there, hey, check out the guys at Dayton, Barnes and All Steel Buildings. But I can't tell you how many times I've been listening to the radio live and heard your dad go into, man, those guys over at Dayton, Barnes and All Steel, and they give you this like rallying cry that is straight from the heart, straight from the hip. These guys are live in the studio broadcasting. And, for those of you who are in the Ohio area, for sure, if you listen to bluegrass music, you've heard of Joe Mullins and the Radio Ramblers. You have heard of Daly and Vincent. You've heard of WBZI Radio. And that's who we're with today, is Daniel from WBZI Radio. Daniel, give the audience a little bit more on our background. I think that people really underestimate how much a relationship can grow.
Yeah. Man, you mentioned those relationships. And before I dive into our relationship, that's one thing that radio brings to the table, particularly folks that do it the old school way, that have those live personalities in the studio, that it's not all just, canned programming, is we as the on-air personalities serve as the conduit or the introduction for a relationship between our clients, like Dayton, Barnes and All Steel Buildings, and our listeners, no matter where they're at, who they are. Our relationship with our listeners, in turn, kind of helps build a relationship between our potential customers for y'all. When we can, when we can tell folks, hey, if you call Jared at Dayton, Barnes and All Steel Buildings, he's one of us. He listens to Doyle Lawson and Daly and Vincent, and knows what you're talking about. That right there automatically is a huge touch point. That's one thing that made my papaw on radio so successful when he first came to the Miami Valley of Ohio. Miami Valley of Ohio, southwestern Ohio, had a lot of manufacturing jobs after World War II, and not just Dayton and Cincinnati, but places like Middletown and Springboro and Fairborn and Hamilton. And there was an Appalachian migration that's been studied by sociologists ever since then of people coming from the hills and hollers of Kentucky and Tennessee and West Virginia and moving to places like southwestern Ohio, but also places like Detroit and Pennsylvania to find good paying factory jobs. So they didn't have to work in the mines or work in the fields. And they, thank goodness, they brought their music with them, created a bustling bluegrass scene in some of these pockets. Southwestern Ohio's bluegrass connection is referred to as industrial strength bluegrass because they came for the industry, but they brought their bluegrass and it had that kind of edge to it. A lot of great historic recordings from great bluegrass stuff like Flat and Scruggs' Foggy Mountain Breakdown was recorded in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the same studio that Hank Williams recorded I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. And everybody knows that one. So it created these media markets as well. And when people started figuring out trying to connect to these homesick hillbillies instead of just looking down their nose at them as they had been wont to do with these strange people that talked different and had different customs coming to their communities. Once people in media started figuring out how to connect their businesses to these folks, it really made a big difference. And so when Papaw started on the air at WPFB in Middletown, him being able to tell folks, hey, so-and-so at this car lot is from such and such holler in Kentucky, and or different sorts of jargon to connect and continue to build those relationships. I mean, people still talk about it.
Yep.
That's where it goes. I mean, being able to have those relationships, you and you started attending our bluegrass festivals with your mom to see folks like Daleen Vincent and Doyle Lawson and Rhonda Vincent and the Grascals and the Cherry Holmes family and everybody back in the day. And that's how we met because we were the same age and we connected that way. And it even was really cool in, I guess it was 2011, maybe 2011. You guys, the International Bluegrass Music Association's big annual award show and business conference was in Nashville. And you guys had mentioned something about maybe being interested in going to the award show. And Dad just so happened to have an extra pair of tickets next to he and I. So we gave them to you and your mom, and it was a really fun experience. The Ramblers were even nominated for an award that evening. They were kind of just starting out on expanding their music nationally. So ever since then, it's always been great. We've had similar tastes in music and always got along. Not just brothers in bluegrass, but brothers in Christ as well. So always have great faithful conversations, and be able to, when you had the opportunity to work with Dayton Barnes and All Steel Buildings, it was just, at first, I think it worked out great for you to come bring the sheds just so you had an excuse to come to the festival and get paid to do it, I think, right?
It was, we started off with, and again, this is how things grow, right? We started off as a single booth space, and Daniel did a really good job of getting us plugged in, getting us a really next level spot. And then from there, we went back again, we kept seeing success, we sold a couple of buildings. And then from there, it was like, well, why don't you guys try out getting on the radio now? And I got into that. I want to give a quick shout out and plug Industrial Strength Summerfest coming up. It's going to be July 17th, 18th, 19th at the Greene County Expo Center in Xenia. Rhonda Vincent, Joe Mullins and the Radio Ramblers, the Malpass Brothers, the Grascals, many more coming to you. If you are in the market for a couple of day trip, if you might have went to the MAC. I think this is a really good replacement for the MAC. The Greene County Expo Center is a beautiful place to be. It is a great place. It's an easy drive right off of 35, not too far from basically 35 and 68 kind of intersection
35
there.
and 68 cross in Xenia. So if you're traveling Route 68, it's just a half mile maybe.
I can tell you.
Camping
Dayton Barnes.
There.
Yeah. Dayton Barnes and All Steel Buildings will be there. The Steel Kings, myself and Eric will probably make an appearance at the Industrial Strength Summerfest, July 17th, 18th, and 19th at the Greene County Expo Center.
IndustrialStrengthBluegrass.com for folks that are interested.
There you go, man. Yeah, and I want to touch back to what you said, because if there is anybody listening that's interested in learning more, there is an Industrial Strength book that has an outline of Southwestern bluegrass history. There's also an album that your dad helped curate that won an IBMA award for musical event of the year. Is that?
It actually won a couple. So the
Yeah,
album
yeah.
was released. Industrial Strength Bluegrass, Southwestern Ohio's musical legacy, was
Yeah.
released actually by the Smithsonian back in
Okay.
2021.
Okay.
And it's celebrating the bluegrass history of southwestern Ohio by bringing
Sure.
not just folks and Hall of Fame legends connected to that legacy, but also some of the top music makers of today who were influenced by the music that came out of this region. So the project is fantastic. It features Vince Gill's on there, Leanne Womack, the Grascals, Daly and Vincent, who we have mentioned a few times. Rhonda Vincent's on there. Mo Pitney. Mo Pitney's a great country music maker. The Isaacs, the Oak Ridge Boys, Joe Mullins and the Radio Ramblers, Doyle Lawson and Quicksilver, Jim Lauderdale, High Fidelity. I mean, the list goes on and on. Great project. It won Album of the Year in 2021.
There you go.
And I had the opportunity, in addition to being an assistant producer on the project, to write the liner notes for the original album. And then the album was so successful that the Smithsonian Folkways team wanted to do a expanded vinyl edition, which was really cool. It was released last year. And what they did is it's a 2 LP set. I'll have to snag it over here, maybe show it to you. I see it. I'm looking at it on the shelf, but it's a 2 LP set and features some archival recordings of some of the original artists of folks that were connected to the bluegrass scene of southwestern Ohio. Features a recording from Larry Sparks and from Dave Evans, from Red Allen and the Allen Brothers. There's a recording of the Hot Mud Family on there and the Boys from Indiana, the Traditional Grass. It's a really cool project. And so with the expanded track selection and with the kind of legacy that had transpired since the album's release, they wanted me to do some expanded liner notes for that project. And those received Liner Notes of the Year honors last year at the IBMA Awards as well. IBMA is International Bluegrass Music Association.
Hello, Shed and Carport industry. I'm Cord Cook, Chief Brand Strategist here at Shed Geek Marketing. Did you know that Shed Geek Marketing works with 45 shed companies and counting? And we are not slowing down in 2025. One of the neat benefits to working with Shed Geek Marketing is working with an agency as opposed to just an individual. When you work with Shed Geek Marketing, you have a team of professionals working diligently to ensure your success. From branding guidelines and brand books to websites, Google and Meta tag tracking that measures the traffic to your website and social media pages, CRM setup and full automation build-outs, lead funnel integration, and so much more. Worried about whether or not we can serve you? Don't be. Shed Geek Marketing works with manufacturers ranging from $1 million a year in sales up to $80 million a year in sales. There is no manufacturer too big or too small. Remember, marketing is an investment that should be making you money. That's why nearly 50 companies have decided to work with Shed Geek Marketing. So for more information, go to www.shedgeek.com and submit some basic information, and we'll reach out with a discovery call and patiently walk you through how we can best serve you. Thank you for your time and look forward to working with you.
Yeah, man, I have been so impressed with what you've been able to do in really branding your family's history alongside of the history of Southwest Ohio bluegrass, and then tying in. So you guys have actually gotten kind of the stamp of approval from the state of Ohio. You know, their WBZI and these music festivals have become a focal point for the state.
Yeah,
right?
the success of the music festivals has really been noticed by Ohio tourism. Our industrial strength bluegrass festivals have won IBMA Bluegrass Event of the Year twice. The festivals themselves have been going on for over 20 years. They were originally known as the Southern Ohio Indoor Music Festival. Once we kind of passed COVID and with the excitement of the Industrial Strength Bluegrass book that was released by University of Illinois Press and the Industrial Strength Bluegrass album from Smithsonian's Folkways, we decided to kind of capitalize on this renewed interest on Southwest Ohio's bluegrass history. We rebranded our festivals Industrial Strength Bluegrass Festivals. We added a third day, which tackling that coming out of COVID was a little risky, but it is paid off. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 3 great days of bluegrass entertainment. And yeah,
Yeah.
we've had some unique partnerships, but being able to after we caught the eye of Ohio tourism, we're so glad that the state of Ohio tourism has been a great partner in presenting our festivals and on our network as well, letting folks know that the Ohio really is the heart of it all. So they can visit ohio.org
That's right.
and learn about all sorts of great experiences available when folks visit the Buckeye State. We've had visitors at our festivals from dozens of states, multiple foreign countries. I know just in the last few festivals, we've had people attend from Alaska and Spain and Las Vegas and all over Texas. We have a huge contingency that comes from Canada. So yeah, we've had people from Asia. So yeah, it's a really unique time. It's a great first class event. This will be our first outdoor festival this summer. So everybody needs to come out.
Yep.
So it's a rousing success because we're really excited about it.
Yeah. Again, July 17th, 18th, 19th at the Greene County Expo Center. I can't stress enough to you. So Daniel, one thing about us that you don't know, and I think I might have told you offline, but we service a lot of the Plain community, a lot of those folks that, Amish, Mennonite, things like that. This is music that's going to be right up your alley too.
Absolutely.
These are very welcoming, family-friendly events. A lot of gospel music, majority is going to be bluegrass, obviously, but we get into some country and stuff like that too. But I can tell you, if you're considering a trip this summer, July 17th, 18th, and 19th, there's camping. There's probably, plenty of lodging nearby. You are close by to Dayton. You're close by to, plenty of attractions. Make it worthwhile. Stop by the Greene County Expo Center for the Industrial Strength Bluegrass Summer Fest, brought to you by the guys over at Real Roots Radio. I can tell you,
right,
man,
family-friendly event, and we've had just this past festival, we had a family of I'm not sure if they were Amish or Mennonite, so I can't say specifically, but we've had a lot of Amish and Mennonite visitors in the past that have enjoyed our event because it is family-friendly, because there is a great combination of bluegrass and country and gospel. And it's one thing that's great too on bringing the family is kids 16 and under are free, and young adults 17 to 25 get in half price with a valid student ID. So we want people to come. We want people to bring young people. And I'll tell you one more thing about the youth too that we have excited to present over recent years. That we have increased some programming for youth. We have had partnerships with Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, where some of the different entertainers or friends of the festival will read storybooks to kids and make memories that have lasted a lifetime. Rhonda Vincent's in her big shiny pink dress, Grand Ole Opry star, sitting down on the floor with the kids, reading them a storybook. We did a Q&A with Ricky Skaggs a few festivals ago, where he had Annabelle Smith, who was about 6 or 7, kind of host a Q&A where only the kids could ask Ricky any question that they wanted, which was really generous of him to have that time with the youth. But we want people to bring their kids and grandkids, and at a great facility like Greene County Fairgrounds and Expo Center, they have great camping. It'll be a lot of fun.
That's the best part about working with you guys and getting to know you guys better over the years, from a personal level to a business relationship. If you guys are considering working with someone, I never knew to which the extent that Daniel had his tentacles out into the world. I never knew how widespread, at the time it was classic country radio, WBZI, it became Real Roots Radio, and now it's this generational movement with industrial strength, and they're tying in all these avenues of things that for me, if you look at me, you are not thinking he listens to bluegrass music. But that's the thing about me and Daniel is we don't just listen to bluegrass, we listen to country, I listen to rock, I listen to rap, I listen to all of it. I don't find much music that I don't find to be fulfilling to me. I like it to be wholesome. I like it to be a little bit, clean, in nature. I'm not into anything that's derogatory or anything like that. But I can tell you, the guys over there at Real Roots, it's going to be a big time. I can tell you, we're going to have a blast. We'll be out there. Daniel, tell me a little bit about what you do for your customer, meaning somebody like me. When you bring somebody in, how do you explain radio advertising? Because I want to tie that into, as we finish up this time, I want you to give me a pitch, and I want you to give the listeners a pitch on what radio can do for them and for their business.
Well, to harken back to something I said earlier, having that we can help build that personal connection with the listener right off the bat. When they're listening to the radio and they're listening to us speak, it's a one-on-one conversation. And we, our most effective form of ads are live, ad lib, on air endorsements. There's kind of a lost art. There's not a lot of radio stations that do those anymore. They are out there though, and they are the most effective. Like when you're listening to, and a great example is, and they don't do them to the degree that we do, but so people kind of have a little bit of an idea. When you're listening to a ball game on the radio, and the announcer will take the time to, in the flow of the game, mention a sponsor. That's one level. We take it to another level where it's not just a quick mention, it's a personal endorsement or pitch, introducing folks to the people that run the business, or telling them about their products or services. My papa was the master at those. He had so much personality in the commercials that there were people that would tune in to his program just to hear the commercials because he made them that memorable. And that's something that we can do. We can make them memorable to where they stand out and you're thinking about them later. But one thing that's great is, in addition to being able to communicate your message to our audience, in a niche market like bluegrass and classic country, which that's what our network specializes in, we do have a lot of clientele that either aren't on social media, or if they are, they're not on social media nearly to the degree of other folks. And that's, for us, as far as for advertising, that's our biggest competitor, honestly, is social media. People say, well, I can just spend money with Meta and XYZ. Well, yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not that personal connection. And there's a whole world of clients out there that you are not reaching if you're only focusing on one media stream. It needs to be part of a plan, like a part of a comprehensive plan. I'm not saying nothing against running social media ads, but if that's all you're doing, you're really missing out on a lot of customers out there that aren't using that medium, that aren't on that platform. The other thing I can tell you though is the average amount of times you need to see or hear or connect with a message before you make an action, before you go to their website, before you give them a call, before you click on something. The average number of touch points before something happens is 7. Okay, 7. You're going to need to hear a message or see a brand or whatever 7 times. So 2 things. One, in addition to reaching people that you wouldn't be able to reach on social media by being on radio, we can help you run your social media ads more effectively because we are helping people get to that 7 touch points quicker. If someone hears it on the radio and then sees it on their social media stream, what do you think? Are they going to be more or less likely to keep on scrolling or click your ad? So, in a nutshell, that's some of the perks that radio, particularly done the live way, full of personality. That's one reason you've probably heard me use the term on-air personality more so than disc jockey. Disc jockey implies that all you're doing there is playing records. And that's not what we're doing. We're an on-air personality. The emphasis on that personality, which is that unique touch. That's what separates us from listening to just like Spotify, is that there is a personality there that is connecting with the audience that you have a relationship with and that can tell you about the song you're listening, provide some context, talk about why they like it, and also talk about how terrible the Reds played or whatever, so being able to have that personal connection is really important. And that's one thing that, just like our relationship would foster into a business relationship, it's the same thing. Our relationship with our audience helps fosters business connections all over the Miami Valley and beyond.
I can tell you, I want to add one thing to what you said, and one thing that I've learned with advertising on the radio, specifically with WBZI. I can tell you what my core customer is a landowner who is probably 35 years old plus, that has a little bit of money or a little bit of a monthly income that they can burn on a wood shed or steel building. Most of the people who are listening to this know steel buildings are very often a desire more than a need. They're a want more than a need. Same thing with a shed. Sheds are a little bit more commonly a need than a steel building. But certainly we are very infrequently going to be working with someone who absolutely has to have what we sell. We need to be in a disposable income type of situation. And I can tell you the curated content, and do your research. You're going to know who your top radio stations are in your area. If you're working with somebody like Daniel said on Clear Channel or iHeart, more power to them. They're a big national conglomerate. They do millions and millions of dollars in advertising and sales and all that. Not taking anything away from that. But these are on-air personalities who are giving live testimonials. They're talking about what's going on outside. Hey, it's raining here in the Dayton market today. Make sure you grab an umbrella. While you're at it, check out the guys over at Dayton Barnes and All Steel Buildings. They'll help you out with your sheds. They can ad-lib on the fly, and I've heard them do it, and I can tell you we have reaped the benefits from curating a relationship with what I would say is the best small market regional radio station in our area going away in an industry that is changing every day. The more plug and play you get with Spotify and Sirius XM and Apple Music and whatever else is out there, this is something that, think about your core customer, right? That 35 plus year old that drives a late model Chevrolet Malibu and has an AM FM radio and no Bluetooth. Connections. That's what we are targeting when we work with the guys over at BZI. I want to give one more shout out. I want to, first of all, Daniel, thank you so much, man.
I'll add something to you real quick if you don't mind.
Give me something.
So
give me something.
You mentioned, the difference between working on someone like a niche radio format or a small market local network like Real Roots Radio compared to something like Clear Channel or something like that. And I think when we talked about this, when you mentioned having me on, if you're trying to hit a target, we are the difference between trying to hit your target with a fire hose and hitting it with a squirt gun. If you can find somebody that can hit that target specifically, then it's a lot better for you in the long run. Sometimes it might be great that let's put it this way. My dad, when he first started Real Roots Radio, he went to the biggest car lot in town, which is Key Chrysler. They're still on the air. And he went and talked to the owner at the time, the late Terry Toby, gave him his pitch. And the first question Mr. Toby asked was, how many listeners do you have? And Dad said, you're asking the wrong question. He said, if I only have 5, but I can convince 3 of them to buy their next car from Key Chrysler, would that answer your question? And he signed on the spot right there. Because that's what it's that connection. And the loyalty factor is something else that is unique about our radio network, our genre, and our niche.
I can tell you that that's a true statement.
The
There's
bluegrass
nobody
and the
that's
classic
loyal
country
like
loyalty.
bluegrass. Gospel listeners, bluegrass, country.
They will.
They ride alongside of you.
I talked to a listener just the other week who lived in Springfield. I think he's relatively newer listener. It's somebody that I hadn't heard from before. Let's put it that way. But we have heard countless stories like this where they said, we appreciate what you do on the radio. We appreciate having an outlet to hear this sort of music, that he drove 2 counties away to go get a cup of coffee at a place that we talked about, the Lumberton General Store. He continued his trek even farther from home to go to a place called Alma's Attic in Wilmington. That is an antique store that we promote. Talked about the blanket that he bought there and how it's kept him warm over those last couple months, how cold it is. He also talked about how he went to a business that's a couple blocks from our radio studio that's still a county away from where this guy lives, called Xenia Shoe and Leather, because we talked about how they, in addition to selling boots and leather goods, that they will do repairs on a lot of different things. He said he brought in a pool cue stick case that needed repaired. He'd had it repaired someplace else. And they did a crappy job and it broke in 2 or 3 weeks. And he said, man, I brought it there. They fixed it for me. And he goes, I don't think I could tear it up if I tried. He goes, and they gave me a fair price for how great the work and the craftsmanship was. That one guy went to 3 different sponsors that weren't even in his county because he heard about them on the Real Roots Radio Network, because he appreciates what we do and wanted to support us by supporting our sponsors. And that's something that I'll tell you right now, there is not a knock on wood, or I would be shocked if there's a listener of Spotify or Clear Channel on the planet that has that sort of loyalty. Now, maybe on specific shows or specific podcasts, even some of the bigger ones, maybe, but and that's not people going to their website. That is driving out of their way,
Yeah.
Driving. That's the thing. If we can convince someone to drive past 8 other car lots on the way to the one that we promote, that's power in advertising. And that's something that small market radio can bring if it's the right customer base with the right format.
Y'all are listening to us on a podcast. Some of y'all are listening to us on a call service, but think about how you process what we say. So, you guys, obviously I want to give quick shout outs here at the end as we wrap up. Our partners over at the Shed Geek Podcast Network, our partners over at Shed Geek Marketing. But think about how long you've listened to Shannon talk about the products and services that have helped him and helped our industry move forward. Think about how serious you take our partners, the guys over at Shed Hub, the guys over at Idea Room, the guys over at, Shed Pro. I mean, you name them, we've worked with them. And we wouldn't give you any bad advice, because if we give you bad advice, you're going to come knock on our doors. Daniel, I can tell you this has been an absolute blast. We got to do it again.
Yes.
We got to talk more about music. We got to maybe do a podcast from one of the festivals. We got to get this out to the people, because I can tell you, if you're not checking out the guys over at WBZI, they've got a national platform. They've got an app. If you guys are sitting somewhere not within their earshot of their terrestrial signal on the 3 FM bands, the 3 AM bands, check them out. Real Roots Radio app, probably available in the iTunes store, the Google Play store. I'm not really sure. I don't keep up on that stuff. I'm not techie, but I can tell you, I'm going to give one more plug. I'm going to pull this up. So I want to give this a fair shake, because I can tell you, July 17th, 18th, and 19th, we are going to be at the Greene County Expo with Daniel, with the guys over at Real Roots Radio for the Industrial Strength Bluegrass Summerfest, headlined by Rhonda Vincent, Joe Mullins and the Radio Ramblers, the Malpass Brothers, the Grascals, Junior Sis, Cody Norris, Larry Stevenson, Kenny and Amanda Smith, many more for that 3 days. Camping's on site. Let me know. I'm Jared at Dayton Barnes. He's Daniel at Real Roots Radio. I can tell you, Daniel, I really appreciate the time today, my friend. I really do.
Hey, I appreciate you having us. And yeah, the lineup for our festival is great. Rhonda Vincent, Grammy Award winner. She's a member of the Grand Ole Opry. The Malpass Brothers have their own television show on RFD TV. The Grascals, man, they've toured with everybody from Dolly Parton to Hank Williams Jr. and more. And just a great variety of bluegrass and country and gospel entertainment. Something for the whole family. A lot of great tastes in music, a lot of great tones and songs and sounds. It's going to be a wonderful family-friendly time in Xenia, and I'm so glad to have Dayton Barnes and All Steel Building support what we do with our Industrial Strength Bluegrass festivals, but what we do year-round on the Real Roots Radio Network. It's such a great partnership, and it's really worked out great for both of us. I appreciate you having me on the Steel Kings podcast, man.
Absolutely, man. As always, guys, I'm going to say goodbye for Eric. He'll be back on the next one. I'm Jared. This is the Steel Kings podcast. Check us out next Monday. We're going to have another hot topic. We might get into something steel building related. You never know. I might have another special guest. One more time for the guys out at WBZI. We appreciate you, and we will see you guys next week. Have a good week, guys.
Before you go, the J Money team wants to thank you for listening to today's Steel Kings podcast. Remember, money is king. If you need a financing option on your portable wood sheds or steel buildings, we are here to help. Just check out jmoneyllc.com for more information. Don't forget to catch the next episode. We'll still be here. Have a great day.